Why is it that so many genuinely good men find themselves trapped in a cycle of being overlooked, dismissed, and ultimately disrespected by the women they're interested in? You follow all the conventions. Why is it that so many genuinely good men find themselves trapped in a cycle of being overlooked, dismissed, and ultimately disrespected by the women they're interested in? You follow all the conventional advice. You're attentive, accommodating, always available. Yet somehow, that respect and attraction you're hoping for remains frustratingly out of reach. Think about it. You've likely been told your entire life that being nice is the path to connection. That kindness and consideration would inevitably lead to meaningful relationships. But there's something crucial that's been left out of that equation, isn't there? Something that explains why nice guys so often find themselves stuck in the friend zone while watching women gravitate toward men who seem to have mastered something they haven't. If you've ever found yourself wondering, if I'm doing everything right, then why am I still alone? This conversation is for you. The truth is, there's a profound difference between being nice and being respected. And that difference isn't about becoming someone you're not. It's not about adopting manipulation tactics or pretending to be disinterested. It's about understanding a fundamental psychological principle that most men miss entirely. You see, respect isn't earned through constant availability or by suppressing your own needs. Respect comes from something deeper, something many nice guys have been conditioned to believe is actually wrong or selfish. Let's take a moment to understand what's really happening here. When you prioritize being liked over being respected, you send a subtle but powerful message. Your own boundaries, desires, and self-worth are negotiable. And here's the uncomfortable truth. We can only be respected to the degree that we respect ourselves. The nice guy approach often masks a deeper fear, the fear of rejection, the fear of conflict, the fear of being seen as anything less than perfectly accommodating. This fear drives behaviors that seem helpful on the surface, but actually undermine attraction at its core. You were praised for being agreeable, for going with the flow, for putting others first. But that praise became a prison, locking you inside a shrinking comfort zone where your own needs became increasingly invisible, even to yourself. Think about the men you respect. Are they the ones who are constantly seeking approval? The ones who never disagree, never set boundaries, never prioritize their own well-being? Or are they the ones who know who they are, what they want, and aren't afraid to express it, even when it might create momentary tension? I'm guessing it's the latter, and here's why that matters. The qualities we respect in others are often the very same qualities that generate respect toward us. So what's the shift that needs to happen? It starts with understanding that genuine respect requires authenticity, not the performative niceness that hopes to be rewarded with affection, but the honest expression of who you are, your values, your boundaries, your desires. And yes, sometimes your disagreement. Let me be clear about something. This isn't about becoming cold or dismissive. It's not about playing games or adopting some artificial alpha persona. Those approaches might create temporary intrigue, but they'll never foster the genuine connection you're ultimately seeking. Instead, it's about reclaiming your authentic self from beneath the layers of people-pleasing behaviors that have been blocking your path to meaningful connection. Here's what this looks like in practice. First, recognize that your time and attention are valuable. When you treat them as infinite resources to be freely given away regardless of how you're being treated in return, you inadvertently signal that they hold little worth. Begin by being more intentional with both. This doesn't mean becoming unavailable. It means being available for reasons that align with your genuine desires rather than from a place of fear or obligation. Second, learn to express disagreement respectfully but unapologetically. If you find yourself constantly agreeing with everything she says just to keep things pleasant, you're not being genuine. Women aren't looking for yes men, they're looking for partners with perspectives, opinions, and the confidence to express them, even when those views might differ from their own. Third, maintain your own life, passions, and friendships. The most attractive quality isn't constant availability, it's having a life that's interesting, fulfilling, and not centered solely around potential romantic interests. When your happiness depends entirely on someone else's validation, the weight of that dependency becomes suffocating. When you consistently communicate and enforce healthy boundaries, you demonstrate self-respect that becomes the foundation for how others treat you. Fifth, embrace vulnerability from a place of strength, not insecurity. There's enormous power in being able to express your authentic feelings without attaching your entire self-worth to how they're received. True vulnerability says, "This is how I feel," not, "Please validate me so I can feel okay." Pause for a moment and reflect on these principles. They might seem counterintuitive if you've spent years believing that constant accommodation is the path to connection. But ask yourself, how well has that approach been working so far? The most profound shift happens when you realize that the respect you seek from others begins with how you respect yourself. And self-respect isn't about arrogance or entitlement. It's about honoring your own humanity enough to express it authentically. I've seen this transformation countless times. Men who are stuck in patterns of being overlooked and undervalued discover that when they begin prioritizing their own well-being and expressing themselves honestly, something remarkable happens. The quality of their connections transforms. Suddenly, they're attracting partners who appreciate them for who they truly are, not for who they're pretending to be. And here's what's particularly fascinating. The women who were disinterested when these men were in nice guy mode often become genuinely attracted when they witness this shift toward authentic self-respect. Why? Because confidence rooted in genuine self-worth is magnetic in a way that people-pleasing can never be. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you actually are beneath the layers of conditioning that taught you to hide your authentic self in hopes of being accepted. Remember that woman who friend-zoned you despite your constant availability and support. She wasn't rejecting your kindness. She was responding to the lack of balance, the absence of healthy boundaries, and perhaps, most importantly, the sense that you weren't being fully real with her or with yourself. The pathway forward isn't about less kindness. It's about more authenticity. It's about bringing your whole self to your interactions rather than just the parts you think will be acceptable. It's about risking genuine connection rather than settling for the hollow safety of being merely nice. When you make this shift, something profound happens. You stop engaging with women from a place of scarcity and fear. You stop treating every interaction as a test you might fail. You begin showing up as your full, complex, imperfect self. And in doing so, you give others permission to do the same. True connection flourishes in this space of mutual authenticity. When both people feel free to express their real thoughts, feelings, and boundaries, the relationship has room to develop depth and resilience that surface-level niceness can never create. So where do you start? Begin by asking yourself a simple question. In what situations do I find myself agreeing when I actually disagree? Where am I saying yes when I want to say no? When am I swallowing my own perspectives or needs to keep someone else comfortable? These are the growth edges where your authentic self is waiting to emerge. These are the opportunities to practice expressing yourself honestly, setting boundaries clearly, and discovering the counterintuitive truth that respect isn't earned through constant accommodation, but through genuine self-expression. The respect you seek isn't found in becoming what you think others want. It's found in becoming more fully who you already are, in having the courage to express that authenticity consistently, and in valuing yourself enough to expect that authenticity to be met with reciprocal respect. This journey isn't always comfortable. There will be moments of uncertainty as you shed old patterns and embrace new ones. There may even be people who preferred the version of you that never disagreed or set boundaries. But what awaits on the other side is worth every growing pain. Connections based on mutual respect, attraction rooted in authenticity, and the profound freedom of no longer needing to perform to be valued. The nice guy within you doesn't need to disappear. He needs to evolve into someone who extends that same kindness to himself that he so readily offers others. When that happens, everything changes. The respect you've been seeking from others begins flowing naturally from a place you might not have expected, from your own renewed relationship with yourself. And that, more than any technique or strategy, is what will transform your connections with the women in your life. Not because you're trying to make them respect you, but because you've finally learned to respect yourself.